To my fellow Americans and to my followers, I would like to let you know that as an American and as a patriot and somebody who openly opposes Donald Trump and his allies, I 100% am with the international community and to those of the nations he is threatening to attack, and to those who say it's just a joke, he won't actually do it. If it was a joke, why is he trying to annex and threaten Canada? Why is he threatening the safety of our northern brothers? Why is he threatening to invade Mexico and threatening our southern brothers? Why is he threatening to invade Panama, another one of our southern brothers? Why is he threatening to invade and take Greenland from our brothers overseas? Why is he threatening our allies? And you say he's just trolling when he is not. He had specifically stated and even tried to take Greenland for years. And thankfully he didn't. And let me tell you something about Greenland. It is not an independent country, nor has it ever been. It is territory belonging to the Kingdom of Denmark, which had been Denmark's territory for over 1,000 years, since the Viking Age. I am 100% serious. Denmark had ruled over Greenland for over 1,000 years since the Viking Age. And Donald Trump wants to take it because he thinks he can take it. Because he thinks he deserves everything, in which he doesn't. The point of leading the United States is not to conquer other people and subjugate them because you think you want to win. There is a thing he doesn't know. Canada, Denmark, all these countries he's threatening to invade are a part of NATO. He is threatening our allies because he wants to emulate other dictators like Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un. Because he craves power, he craves a victory he will never even get. Because here's the thing. When Hitler took over France in 1940, the French people weren't just going to let this slide. The French people organized resistance movements all over France, in both the occupied territories in the north and Vichy France in the south. There were even resistance movements in Poland, since it was conquered in late 1939. Same in Denmark. Same in Norway. Same in the lowlands, both Belgium and the Netherlands and Luxembourg. There were even resistance movements in Korea and China against Imperial Japan. The MAGA movement believes that Trump had ended all the wars in the world. They truly believe that he did. They say that there were no wars under Trump, even though there was a war going on in Syria that we were still involved with. We were still involved in Afghanistan. We were still involved in every conflict around the world during the war on terror. And you Trump supporters eat it all up because you like that, because you take the validation from a man who is known to fearmonger the public into believing everything he says. He won on a campaign of fear instead of good ideas. He lied to the public saying that Haitian immigrants, legal immigrants, were eating people's pets, even though there was no evidence. And you could say, what about that image of those two black men holding a goose? Those were roadkill cleanup workers. And they weren't even Haitian. You all associate that image with the Haitians because they're black, which is racist. And the MAGA movement is racist by nature. And you could try to debuff this. You could try to argue against this claim as much as you want. It's true. You said that Trump wasn't going to cause wars, yet he is threatening Canada and their sovereignty, Denmark and their territorial rights, Mexico and their sovereignty, and Panama and their sovereignty. And if he does manage to take over these countries, there is going to be millions of people who will rise against him and will fight back. Like I said, when Hitler took over France, he expected the French people to be subjugated, but he knew there was going to be resistance. That's why the French resistance kept fighting the Nazis in the shadows. Same with the Polish, the Dutch, the Danish, the fucking Belgian resistance, and the Norwegian resistance. These resistance movements have been fighting the Third Reich for years in the shadows, unaliving fascist officers, dealing with garrisons. And even when the United States finally got involved, we worked with the French resistance. We worked with the lowland resistance movements. We worked with the Norwegian and Danish resistance fronts against Hitler. And what we're doing now is similar to Hitler. A 4-star general who worked with Trump revealed that Trump wants to emulate Hitler. He even said it himself. Why doesn't he have generals like Hitler? And the reason Trump wasn't able to do these things because he was limited. And now his allies have given him full immunity to do whatever the hell he wants to both his own people and other peoples. And there is a lot of Americans like myself who feel absolutely ashamed of ourselves for allowing a toddler of a human being to take power once again. Somebody who is known to abuse his own power and threaten other nations' sovereignty. Somebody who lied about saying there were no wars under me, that I'm going to decrease grocery prices. Yet he is threatening people's lives. Wars kill people. And we have killed a lot of people when we were involved in Syria, Afghanistan, World War I and World War II, in Vietnam and Cambodia. We were involved in a lot of people's suffering. We were no different from the people we were fighting. If Trump ever does lose power, we will never be trusted again. And rightfully so. We are a lovely nation. But the fact that we have people who believe the lies of a nationalist tyrant, it breaks my very soul that you have millions of people who are unaware and even choose to ignore what he is doing. They're essentially rewarding him with the bad behavior he is emitting. And that's the whole thing. You elected a man known for his poor and horrible behavior, especially towards women, minorities, and children. We are dealing with a man who has gotten away with every horrible crime he's committed, from tax evasion to rape, and even being associated with the Island Man and Diddy. And you know I can't essentially say their full names, but you know who I'm referring to. And you could try to challenge that. You could try to debunk it. You can't. There's a lot of evidence. Years worth. I've even read some disturbing stuff regarding what Trump did. But the fact that you have no idea what he's about to do, and yet you call it off as trolling, it's not. Trolling is like playing a joke. It might be offensive, but it's funny. Like let's say you're playing a video game, like let's say Halo, and you unalive some player in a game and you start teabagging them. That's trolling, but it's fun. Threatening the sovereignty of other nations is not trolling. It's not funny at all. It's horrific. It's dangerous. And there is a chance we might go to war amongst all of these nations. He's obsessed with winning because he lost an election, and rightfully so. You could say it was stolen. It was not. It was a free and fair election. And that is coming from somebody who used to support him until January 6th, 2021. The very fucking insurrection. Where people were fearing for their lives, where police officers were brutally assaulted, and days after they unalived themselves because of how horrible it was. He could try to spin the truth to his own narrative, but there is another half of the country who sees through the lies of a snake. I support both my country, but I do not support Donald Trump. My country, my actual country, would never threaten the sovereignty of Canada or Mexico or Panama or even the territorial rights that belong to Denmark. Trump, in my eyes, is not an American. He is a traitor. He is a vicious traitor. But he's also a coward. Because when the American people retaliate, he relies on stronger people to protect him. Or even worse off, his own supporters. Because he's a coward. I know people like that. I've been around people like that. They push you, but when you push back, they cry wolf and say that you attacked them. He's a bully. He's a coward. He's a traitor. He is a domestic threat and an international threat. Since Jan 6, the world sees him as a pariah. And he spread this lie that the world is out to get him because he's rightfully seen as a pariah. His supporters worship him to the point where it's now known as delusional idolatry. I'm disgusted that the fact that we are about to have a leader who's obsessed with conquering other nations and putting millions of lives at risk. Both the left and right in Canada do not want to be a part of this country, especially when it's under the rule of a fascist dictator. Same thing with Mexico. Same with Panama. Same with the Danes and Greenland. Same with the Caribbean states. I don't want this. We don't want this. It's why I'm against Trump in the first place now. Because of how awful he was. And to this day, I still feel remorse for ever supporting him since I was 12 up until the age of 16. I feel remorse for what he had done to both my nation, my people, and my family. I feel remorse for ever supporting a fucking traitor. It's why I supported Harris during the election. It's why I am now moving further to the left than moderacy. Because people like him are a threat to the international community. We saw this with Genghis Khan, even though we weren't alive around when Genghis Khan was alive. You have people to this day who are alive when Hitler started invading Poland and France and all these other countries. You had people who witnessed Attila the Hun, the scourge of God, when he sacked the Roman Empire. You had people who witnessed the atrocities committed by Hirohito and his army. Trump is no different from Attila the Hun, Hitler, Hirohito, and Stalin. He is no different from any despot or any militaristic warlord. And you have his supporters that say there were no wars under Trump. That's fucking ironic because he oversaw the war in Syria. He oversaw the war in Afghanistan. We were still involved in conflicts in Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. And now our allies no longer trust us, or are starting to no longer trust us because of who we elected in. I never voted for that man. And I never will, because of what he fucking did. He thinks it's funny to put other people's lives at stake. It's not. It is horrible. He even said it himself that Putin's invasion of Ukraine was genius. Because he's a Russian bootlicker. And you could say that, you can mock me for that. I don't care. He's a bootlicking dog. He prefers to make people's lives as miserable as they can than rather improve them because he's so obsessed with being wealthy and powerful. His mental and physical health are rapidly declining by the day, and we can see that. Even before he was voted in back in 2017, we were all aware that he was known to eat the most disgusting things you could even eat in a single day. McDonald's, greasy fucking food, Diet Coke, which is even worse than regular Coke. Believe it or not. We are dealing with a man who is dangerous to both his own people and other people's. We are dealing with a man with no regard for human life except his own, because he only wants to protect himself. We are dealing with a man whose sanity is slipping away. We are dealing with a man whose health is rapidly declining. And that is going to be our president. What the fuck have we done? America. And this is coming from a proud American. What the fuck have we done? You are dealing with a man who openly said on national television that he wants to open fire on protesters or anybody that criticizes him. And we have that right, and we should still have that right. The First Amendment is the most important of all amendments. There should be no state religion. There should be freedom of the press, freedom of speech, assembly, and of course the right to gather. But he doesn't like that because he knows it would cost him power. And we all know he's going to try to violate the rights of others. But like I said, from every occupier, there is resistance. And I will pray that Canada, Mexico, Panama, and Greenland maintain their sovereign rights and to successfully defend against Trump. And we, the American people, are with these nations. We are with the sovereignty and freedom of every nation